Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. Westerns are a divisive genre, and some love cowboys in the Old West, while others don't really like the tropes the genre has tied to it. I am a huge Western fan though. Ever since I first watched Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly as a child, I was hooked on the genre, and that interest bled into video games. There are 5 fully Western-themed games on the original Xbox, and I want to look at them all today. This list does not include games with Western-themed levels. The whole game has to have a Western theme. I was obsessed with one of these games as a child, so I was excited to dive into all of them today, and I'll let you know how I felt about them in this video. First, I want to thank my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. And going in release order, let's ride on into Western games on the original Xbox. The first Western video game released on the original Xbox was Dead Man's Hand, which came out on March 2nd, 2004. This first-person shooter game was developed by Human Head Studios and published by Atari. The game is set in 1890s Mexico, and you play as Tejon, a criminal in a gang called the Nine. However, Tejon disagrees with the gang's willingness to harm women and children, and this leads to them leaving him for dead. After being saved, he seeks revenge on each gang member individually. It's a classic Western story with all of the genre's themes and tropes. Each level consists of fighting off enemies to reach one of the 9 members and facing them in a boss fight. All of the bosses embody different types of stereotypical Western villains. The gameplay itself could be better, but it does have some exciting features that make it stand out. At its core, it's a shooting gallery style game where targets and enemies pop up in staged locations. Hitting them in quick succession will help you rack up your score. Dead Man's Hand is about scoring as many points as possible and getting high scores at each level. You must shoot things as quickly as possible to gain a combo, and enemies don't appear the whole time. You can consistently keep your score up by hitting things such as bottles or barrels along the way. Environmental kills such as explosions or dropping stuff on enemies' heads give you a nice bonus to your score. Knowing the level is critical to keeping those scores up, and each level is generally short enough to learn and replay. One quirky aspect of this game is that each level opens up with a poker game. Based on the hand you get, you receive ammo and combo bonuses. You can press your luck and try to get more bonuses, but once you lose, it all goes away. It's a minor part of the experience, but adds a unique flair to the game. The shooting itself feels normal for a first-person shooter, with choices between pistols, shotguns, rifles, and knives. Each feels as how you would expect from an arcade game. It's not focused on a realistic portrayal of firing weapons, and that's fine. It's a game you can pick up and get right into. It's worth noting that this game had online multiplayer on launch, but as it does not have Insignia support, I couldn't play it for this video. I'm sure the online multiplayer gave this game a nice edge in keeping the playtime up at launch, and hopefully we can see it come to Insignia sometime soon. Dead Man's Hand is an entertaining game, but it lacks longevity. It's only substantial for a few hours before the simplicity wears thin. The environments are fantastic with a mix of desert canyons and Old West towns, but once you've seen the targeting layout, there's not much to get out of them. The graphics also could be better, and the negatives are more noticeable in the open frontier levels, which lack a lot of detail. I enjoy the idea of the game's boss fights and how each boss has different weapons and fighting styles, but they're too easy. It mainly consisted of shooting them enough times in the face to take them out. It's a highly simplistic game, which is its biggest drawback. But if you're looking for a simple game, then this one's okay, and the game overall is fun. It's just not going to be fun for long play sessions. It would have been a fun rental back in the day, but honestly, I wouldn't pay a high price for it today. If you need some quick action, this one's alright, but there are better Western games on this list today. On May 4th, 2004, Rockstar Games published Red Dead Revolver, a third-person action game that Rockstar San Diego developed for the Xbox and PS2. It is the first game in the Red Dead series, which later gained more popularity with the Grand Theft Auto-like sequels. However, the original Red Dead Revolver is entirely different and features a level-based format where you move from one arena to another fighting against enemy cowboys. The game initially was tied to Capcom, and their influence can be seen in this game, and it makes it stand out in the Rockstar catalog. Despite not being an open world game, Red Dead Revolver is still a fun experience. This game is set in the 1880s and you play as Red Harlow, a bounty hunter who seeks revenge against the gang members responsible for killing his family. The story is simple and similar to Dead Man's Hand, but it takes a more nuanced and homage-based approach, drawing inspiration directly from the spaghetti western subgenre. The game uses heavy film grain and mixes a dark story with lighter elements that make you laugh, similar to the tonal mix of many Italian-made westerns from the 60s and 70s. The game also features an excellent licensed soundtrack including the great Ennio Morricone and other notable Italian composers like Nino Rota and Bruno Nicolai. I like that some of the songs are pulled actually from Italian horror movies, and this whole movie music era is one of my favorites, and I love to see that these tracks show up here. The soundtrack is one of the best compilations available. The gameplay in this game is simple yet effective. You fight in tight sections of levels with waves of enemies to kill. Occasionally you'll encounter a boss or a quick draw section to break up the flow of the levels. You can buy upgrades and new weapons from the store, which adds some customization to each level and creates variety for the game. You get money for your kills, which is like the scoring system for the game. It's interesting that both of the first Western games on the Xbox took an arcade approach to gameplay. The gunplay feels good, especially with the addition of a slow-mo, dead-eye mode that allows you to slow down time and take down enemies quickly. This feature is a series staple and is an element we will see again later on in this list. It's a fun and straightforward experience, but unlike Dead Man's Hand, which had levels that needed longevity, Red Dead Revolver has some great locales that are fun to return to. Red Dead Revolver is an arcade western game that makes every arena and set piece stand out as something unique. Every level tries something unique, which keeps the pacing strong for extended play sessions. The game's appearance is also impressive, with a film grain look and cartoony characters that play a dual role in a way that shows the team's love for spaghetti westerns. The mix of silliness and the edgy main character strolling in, taking on waves of enemies with confidence is so much fun. The game has an enjoyable multiplayer mode too, tons of arenas, and the ability to add bots to them, making it a great experience. Playing the multiplayer just by yourself is fun, and the single player rewards great play with new arenas and characters unlocked for the multiplayer. I honestly miss the days of unlockables like this, and I love how it's implemented here. Red Dead Revolver is the best arcade western experience on the Xbox, and it's funny how much the series would change from here. I do think the later games are better, but that also means it's fun to roll back to this one and see where it all started. The game is backwards compatible on all modern Xboxes, so it's easy to check out. Next is Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, which was released exclusively for the Xbox on January 25th, 2005. However, it has since been remastered and is widely available. It was developed by Oddworld inhabitants and published by EA Games. This is the fourth game set in the Oddworld universe. Unlike the other games, it sets itself apart by featuring unique gameplay styles while retaining the charm of the Oddworld universe. It's a reinterpretation of the Western genre with Oddworld mixed in. This is one of two Western games on this list today that take a unique spin on the Western. But this one definitely has a very odd twist to it that makes it stand out. In Stranger's Wrath, you play as the bounty hunter named Stranger, who travels across Oddworld capturing bounties to earn enough money for an operation. Along the way, you'll encounter many odd characters. Each area has its own story and unique look. Each location has a narrative to follow and keeps the pacing fun throughout its playtime. Like his namesake, Stranger is a stranger to these parts and will interact with everyone to gather tips and directions for his bounty. The world building in Stranger's Wrath is excellent. The game follows a story of a fun bounty hunter archetype who travels to different areas and talks to the locals. The voice work is silly but well done, making the game fun. Although the game's story is simple with a basic premise of capturing bounties, it's the unique world that you get engrossed in. It's one of the most unique games of its generation, and I still think it's highly unique even today. The charm of the Oddworld franchise is carried over, but the game does a beautiful job of putting that oddness into its gameplay. In Stranger's Wrath, you control the titular character from two perspectives. In the first-person perspective, you can use your crossbow to shoot enemies. However, you won't be using regular crossbow bolts. Instead, you'll be hunting small critters in the game world and using their unique traits to help you defeat your enemies. You can load your crossbow with different types of critters to mix and match these effects. The ammo in this game is not like traditional gun ammo. Some critters will web up your enemies to make them easier to capture to turn in your bounty. Other animals will set off a sonar to attract nearby enemies, and some will even produce an electric shock. There is a surprising variety in ammo types and what they can do. The level design in Stranger's Wrath is also noteworthy. It features large, varied landscapes that allow you to plan and tackle your bounties creatively. The game encourages a stealthy playstyle, as getting in the middle of larger crowds of enemies will almost certainly lead to your death. You have to plan and try to pick off enemies one by one. Each area is crafted to allow you to plan your strategy out without hand-holding. The gameplay gives you the freedom to be as creative as possible. I love games that offer a sense of freedom. Many people think of freedom in terms of open-world games, but even linear games can provide this feeling, with level designs that allow you to tackle challenges in your own way. It makes every playthrough specific to that moment in time. Stranger's Wrath is a prime example of such a game. It's also one of the best looking games on the original Xbox. The game has excellent visuals and design with some great use of color. The Western themed world features a lot of earthy browns and greens that make it stand out in the Xbox library. The fidelity is top notch and the look of Stranger stands out. I love it when you walk for a while and he starts running on all fours. The animations he has are great and dynamic. This unique and original game is a tremendous Western game and one of the best Xbox exclusives. Fortunately, it's not limited to the Xbox nowadays and is available in many places. I have personally played the remaster and it's a good one, so check it out to try something you won't get anywhere else. Darkwatch is a Western game released on August 16, 2005 for the Xbox and PS2. It was published by Capcom and developed by High Moon Studios. It combines Western and horror genres similar to the genre bend of Stranger's Wrath. You play as Jericho Cross, an outlaw gradually becoming a vampire. Jericho is recruited to join the monster hunting team of Darkwatch and fight against supernatural enemies. Along the way you meet evil vampires and creatures, and you must destroy them all. The game has a dark, black, and gothic aesthetic that resembles heavy metal album covers. The aesthetic paired with the Western genre makes it a unique and entertaining adventure from start to finish. Darkwatch is a first-person shooter that combines simple shooting fun with a reputation system that tracks good and evil deeds to enhance your superpowers. You start with a base double jump that is floaty but highly addictive. The double jump ends up being one of the best parts of the game. It allows for a free-flowing feeling to combat that keeps the pace of gunfights strong. But as you progress, you can acquire more superpowers to turn the tide of battle in your favor. In addition to your superpowers, you have a selection of old-school pistols and shotguns. But how Jericho uses them adds a unique edge to the gameplay. I love how he can rapidly shoot pistols like cowboys in movies, firing as many possible shots in a row by fanning the hammer. The small Western touches like this give this game a fun atmosphere. Darkwatch's horror elements with poltergeists and vampires make it feel like it belongs right alongside popular movies of the time such as Constantine and Van Helsing. So if you're a fan of those, this should be right up your alley. The shooting mechanics in this game are incredibly smooth, and the controls feel much more modern than I expected. Unlike some older first-person shooter games I play on this channel, which feel a little more rigid, the aim in this game is buttery smooth. This feature works perfectly with how fast-paced the action is in this game. The overload of enemies on screen can make tight areas dense, but wiping them out stays satisfying. The game is set in various locations such as dark industrial trains, graveyards, and old forts that give it a Western feel. All of these locales have a fantastic art design that is dark and appealing. It is a well-designed and thought-out game, and the art designers worked hard to ensure it stood out. Its theme is consistent, and element never feels out of place. They wanted to build a universe here. Sadly, this is the only game in the franchise, though. This game was also released with multiplayer functionality, and it is supported through Insignia. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to try it out for this video, but I really want to join a session soon, because the game's action would be perfect for online play. I did explore some of the maps, and I love the look and design of it. Darkwatch is an enjoyable, well-designed shooter that blends gothic horror and old-school Western aesthetics to create something unique. It stands out amongst other games of its generation, and it's worth revisiting. The last Western game released on the Xbox was Gun, which was launched on November 8th, 2005. It was published by Activision, developed by Neversoft, and released on most major consoles at the time. Later, it saw a port to the Xbox 360 as a launch title, and it also came to the PSP. Talking about this game, I do have some nostalgia bias. It was one of my favorites. After renting it, I bought it almost immediately after returning it, and even picked up the PSP version whenever that came out. I've gone through and got every achievement in the 360 version as well. The game took the Grand Theft Auto formula and placed it in the Old West well before the Red Dead franchise did it. It was a great idea, and it works so well here. In this game, you take on the role of Colton White, voiced by Thomas Jane, who sets out to avenge his father's death in the year 1880. Throughout the game, you'll encounter evil reverends, Native Americans, prostitutes, and outlaws, making for an authentic Western experience. This world of outlaws and lawmen is open to you. Gun offers an open world for you to explore at your own pace, with an overarching narrative that feels cinematic, thanks to the excellent voice work from notable actors such as Ron Perlman and Brad Dourif. In addition to the main storyline, there's numerous side missions and minigames to keep you entertained, such as delivering mail for the Pony Express or mining for gold. I especially love tracking down people from wanted posters. With so many fun options, Gun offers a varied and engaging gameplay experience from start to finish. I enjoy how the side missions in the game provide stat upgrades, giving the game a light RPG feel. You can also upgrade yourself and your arsenal with the money you earn. The shooting gameplay is on par with most third-person shooter games of the time, but it feels noticeably smooth. The game also features a slow-mo shooting mode like in Red Dead Revolver, where you enter a first-person view to take out enemies slowly. It all feels great, and the weapon selection is accurate and enjoyable. You have a horse for transportation in this game, and I was surprised to discover just how well done the horses are going back to it. They control smoothly, and racing with them is satisfying. And there's also a nice strategy because you can override them to their death, and you really have to think about how hard you are riding your horse. I recently conducted a poll on people's favorite Xbox Western games, and I noticed that many of them considered Gun as one of their top picks. This game provides a sense of an open world that's easy to compare to Red Dead Redemption, which is funny because Red Dead Revolver isn't a lot like its sequel. I will say Red Dead Redemption is better than Gun, but Gun is still fun today. It fits well with other popular games of the time such as Grand Theft Auto, and has a cinematic approach that makes it stand out. The game developers did a fantastic job of bringing the Western world to life, and it's worth a try for anyone interested in this genre. Also, this game was released on multiple consoles, so it's easy to go out there and try this one out. That concludes this list of Western games available on Xbox, which is an impressive lineup. Stranger's Wrath and Darkwatch offer a unique twist to the Western genre that executes it with great style. Red Dead Revolver provides a fun arcade-like experience that pays tribute to spaghetti westerns. Gun offers an excellent open-world western experience, and despite some flaws, Dead Man's Hand is an enjoyable game to play for a few hours. As a fan of westerns, I love seeing the genre get more love in the modern age, and I love seeing it get explored in video games. And the Xbox has some great western titles to play. But that wraps it up for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like as it helps out the channel. Comment below if you have any favorites on this list. Also, be sure to subscribe to keep up with the retro Xbox content. And a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members, campers, and camp counselors. Thank you so much for the support. Your help goes a long way. But I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.